Hi, I'm Ellen Heed, founder of STREAM. STREAM stands for Scar Tissue Remediation, Education, and Management. I believe that scar tissue is the unacknowledged cause of too much human suffering, so I developed STREAM as an advanced professional training for healthcare practitioners. STREAM gives health providers of all stripes the tools they need to address scars effectively and amplify human potential as a result. I'm so proud of the work that STREAM graduates are doing that I made a video series to highlight their accomplishments. In this clip, I interview my friend and STREAM collaborator, Rachel Fell. Rachel and I met while she was in the throes of a massive positive disintegration. Our friendship grew into a close, co-creative effort that radically changed STREAM as we worked intentionally and intensively to add deep intrapersonal work to the STREAM program. Our result was that STREAM practitioners now have the tools they need to identify and rewire dysfunctional enmeshments, promote differentiation, and support the growth of inner authority for themselves as much as their clients. What this boils down to is that STREAM practitioners have fully engaged in a process of bringing their unconscious into consciousness. In this clip, Reclaiming Myself After Positive Disintegration, Rachel describes the experience of depression during her formative years, feeling so disconnected from her body that it led to a positive disintegration. Our conversations about organ physiology and embodiment helped Rachel redefine herself by adding a meaningful and accessible sense of embodiment into her experience. Enjoy. So, ever since childhood, you were sensing some disconnect between inner and outer selves, maybe, and an incongruence of body, psyche, and soul. Can you say more about what that means?
So yeah, that disconnect between inner and outer has been so palpable for as long as I can remember. I don't think that experience is necessarily like unique to me. In my experience, it's important though, and it's valuable, and it's something that speaking about I think helps bring to light. That compression of self, that suppression of the interiority, or that
Suppression, like we can't actually occupy our own inside world because there's no place for it to go, or the difference is so big between what's going on the inside and how we're supposed to act on the outside that we may feel like we're occupying two different bodies at once.
Home, church, school. So from a very early age, I don't know that there ever was a place where I felt like I could fully be myself. And again, not an experience that's unique to me and very meaningful at once,
Yeah.
So how fast forward how I as a human being develop, and that disconnect being so palpable.
Well, let's talk about the disconnect in that's relationship to depression, because despite depression, you made it anyway in tech. So it would seem in early 30s, wow, successful brand and marketing director. But tell me a little bit more about how did you even know when you say despite depression? Is that something you see in hindsight when you look back, or is it something you were aware of at the time?
In hindsight, when I look back, so depressed, middle through high school into college, like intense substance abuse
Well,
issues.
it's almost beyond the woulds, the shoulds, and the coulds, right? It's like, no, I just want to erase myself. Blackout drinking or, sincere drug abuse. And, I'm no foe of recreational experiences. I think they're very important, but we can seek to escape reality. And sometimes that it's not enough until I can't feel connected to my body whatsoever.
Right. Which,
Right.
what does that even mean? And is that okay? And, all of that stuff, just like, how first half of life is, supposed to be, or that, when we think about individuation through the lifespan, the journey of growing older, it's like self-annihilation is not what you should be doing.
It's not the idea necessarily.
Yeah, exactly. But that's exactly what was happening. It was like this progressive annihilation. Like you can see me using my body. It's like moving towards me. It's moving in me. It's compressing my interiority down into this place. And so I knew it at the time. Like I knew I was depressed. I knew I was down. I knew I had like substance proclivities, but only in the rear view can I see it for what it really was, which is like a childhood into teenage and early adult years that was like really trying to self-annihilation, depression, just sort of this deep, the music I was listening to.
It's very punk rock somehow. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I mean, it's melancholy. It's like sort of dramatic, and there's this melancholy to it, and I can have levity about it now, but like at the time, it
My
was dire.
goodness.
Yeah,
Right. At the time, it's like, what is happening to me? I don't love this. I feel confused at best,
yeah.
confused on a good day, kind of like, what's the point of anything on a bad day? What is the difference between that and massive positive disintegration? Because it's like, here you are, you've somehow managed to make it in tech. Not somehow, you're very, you've got many capabilities, many strengths and brilliance. And so it's no surprise to me that you would climb the ladder very rapidly to do something challenging like being a marketing and brand director in a tech firm. But
Yeah.
then a massive positive disintegration happened. And how was that different than what the experience you've just been describing?
Yeah, yeah. So like I wish I had a better analogy, but that encroaching sort of scar tissue coming from the conditioning and the shoulds and the like, don't be this, don't be this, sort of all of that, the trauma, the confusion, the not knowing I was neurodivergent, not knowing that I was autistic and profoundly gifted, right? These things that like contributed to this like encroaching calcification, let's say, or scar tissue that has moved all the way into my body, eventually just kind of like exploding,
Uh-huh.
like the earthquake analogy really works.
Mhm.
It's sort of like got a deep epicenter and 9 points on the Richter scale kind of thing. So
Right.
the spontaneous combustion of self that was so deeply buried and so deeply kind of like compressed in this like, kind of like cage or
Yeah, so
this
you're a very, very big
cage.
person inside of a small set of conditioning or a
Yeah.
tight set of constraints, shall we say. And then
Yeah.
this shaking comes, this massive shaking, this earth, the earth moved, but not in the way that we like to say.
So when I think about, the work we do, we shift over, I'm like, okay, sympathetic dominance, permeability, intensity, energy. We know that neurodivergence has a physiologic basis and that neurodivergence is both innate and acquired. So regardless, my configuration, boom, pop, it's like the spontaneous combustion of the sublimated self. And
I think what
people,
happened, this the spontaneous combustion was your ANS.
yes, 100. That's exactly what I think happened too. And that's what I think maybe does happen in these cases of like something touches deep neuroception. It
Mhm.
touches into a place, and I understand that it's full body, right? Our interpretation
Well,
of safety.
neuroception, let's just talk about what that means for a sec. Neuroception
Sure.
is our perception of safety inside of our sensibilities in our body, in our nervous system, our
Yeah.
ability to feel safety as a clear and present state.
Mhm.
But when that all disintegrates, positive disintegration, neuroception being the first thing to go is like, oh my God, I'm not safe. No matter where I look, no matter who I talk to, I'm not safe.
Right.
But it's
Right.
different than trauma because it's complex trauma. It's not based on this event that made me feel like, because there was no single event.
Right. Well, and that's where it gets really the piece around the two incredibly important pillar understandings that I didn't have and I now do have that helped me to navigate this spontaneous combustion of my ANS, the spontaneous combustion of both body and psyche, like
Mhm.
incredible symptoms, nebulous symptoms, profound psychological confusion. And like it felt like who I was melted, essentially. Like there
Yeah.
was no structure to my psyche, is what it felt like.
Mhm. Hard to organize your day.
Yeah, a little tough, right? A little tough to like just go like live life in that kind of state. The two really important pieces here were the primacy of, when we say the primacy of the autonomic nervous system, we're talking about the primacy of the sub and unconscious.
Mhm.
And most people, their operating systems are not honoring the primacy of the sub and unconscious.
Well, that because they're sub and un. So they're not taught to look deeper and feel and be able to interpret signals that are coming from a place that isn't purely conscious. They're
Right.
misrepresenting their experience to themselves, and then it externalizes physical symptoms.
Your thoughts are the last to the party in a way.
Yeah, right.
The language is last to the party in a way, and everybody's different. But so this piece around like essentially my whole reality, it wasn't just me that fell apart. It was like this entire ontology, my entire
Exactly.
understanding.
Your ability to make meaning, your ability to
Yeah,
make meaning dissolved and your
all
health dissolved at the same time. So
totally.
that would be a little disorienting. Yeah.
Just a little, just a
Just a
little.
little. Okay. And so we could say that your identity kind of crumbled in that situation.
Yes, yes. And the reclamation or giving myself permission or sort of moving towards this place of like, oh, the primacy of the sub and unconscious means there's all this stuff going on that I don't have access to and that I'm not controlling. That
Yeah, I
comes
think you said the
with
magic word. I'm not control.
and then the bridge over there to the body as sub and unconscious, which you so graciously and like that those were the two pieces, right, that helped me start to navigate again.
Yeah, but there were also intense physical symptoms that sent you to the ER, too many times to be random, right? There was definitely something up. And you're
Yeah.
not getting answers from any of the practitioners there. You're talking to highly credentialed specialists and you're talking to whoever you can find to try and make some connection. Say, could you please explain what is going on here? And they're like, well, we can't find anything wrong, right?
Yeah, it was the ER like 15 times in 2 years. And then it was also like every specialist under the sun. So that started to really challenge and invite a whole other like, oh gosh, Western medicine isn't going to save me. They're not connecting the dots here. What is going on
Well,
here?
you would think, but we're so conditioned, this is part of the conditioning, right? To believe that Western medicine shall and will save us. That
Yeah.
is the only thing that can save us
Yeah.
because it's the only thing that's credentialed and legitimate. And so when that which we have invested our core beliefs and values as legitimate, credentialed cannot help, then where are we left? Where are we left? Yeah.
You're left on your own, right? Yeah, you're in it with yourself. You're in it with the chaos, with the meltiness. And, it wasn't that I wasn't receiving support like I was, but the institutional bifurcation, the institutional split in I'm over here working with these specialists and like not acknowledging the psyche aspect. I'm working with people who work with the psyche who aren't acknowledging the body aspect.
And that was the problem, wasn't it? Yeah, but so you're exploring the interplay of your body and of your psyche, and then magic happens that transforms chaos and disorientation into some kind of more effective ability to make meaning, and your identity starts to come back together. Can you describe what that felt like in physical terms when it started to happen?
It has felt like a progressive journey to more structure, more solidity, more form. So I'm very hypermobile and I'm very strong. So as an analogy here, like if I go to yoga, if I perform yoga, I
Yes,
will pull myself apart.
exactly.
So this journey, what it feels like and what it is, and what such a beautiful analogy for your question to respond with an analogy or with a example is like there is a felt sense of form and wholeness and put togetherness now in my body that did not exist before. There's a sense of solidity. There's a relationship. I can close my eyes and tune into my cells body wide, and I can listen. I feel my sense of self in my solar plexus with such like it's a sense of self, literal sense of self that wasn't there before. Do I still, struggle? Like in this moment, I can walk my walk and I can speak aloud that I'm noticing some fear around my difference. But this is also how and who I am. Doing what I do is not something that there's a template for in the external world. I
Mhm.
am getting increasingly comfortable and clear in explaining it. You know what I mean? And it is something that is like a new kind of approach. It is beyond convention, inclusive of the best parts of convention and beyond that. There's so much that I've learned in stream that is so rigorous and so inclusive of convention and beyond.